Attempted cold start on a 2001 Viper GTS in race yellow. Attempted because the battery is quite weak. I'm going to have to get a new battery, which is just one of the many things that's wrong with this Viper. Cold start, 2001 Viper GTS, second attempt. Hi everybody, welcome to Photomikes Garage. As you can see, I finally got the Viper moved out. It does have a weak battery, so that's one thing I'm going to have to replace with this Viper, but I'm still very excited. I'm so happy to have this car. It's a dream come true. As you can see, it looks awesome in its Viper Race Yellow. But since I have had the car for a few weeks, I have found out that there's a lot of problems with this car, and it's certainly not as good as I thought it would be. So I'm going to tell you the price I paid for this car at the end of this video, and then you're going to tell me if you think that I got ripped off or not. Okay, so there's the good, the bad, the ugly. Today is the bad. First of all, the car looks great. It has had an accident, and that shows up in the fact that the front bumper's all been repainted. Nice and shiny, nice and smooth, no scrapes. That's good. Headlights need a little bit of work, but they're not terrible. You know, like there's some marks right here, which maybe you can see. That's going to be polished. That's acceptable. That's understandable. Okay. Some of the gaps, I don't know if that's normal or not. That's like a huge gap. As you can see, there's signs here that the front bumper was repainted. You can see overspray there, which I don't believe should be there. And of course, this is probably the worst. This paint is a different color from this paint. This is a little bit lighter, a little bit brighter. And I didn't notice this when I was looking at the car originally. This is two different colors. Now, on the Carfax, it does say that it did have an accident on the right-hand side. So maybe this fender was repainted. It's got rivets right here, so they haven't been painted over. So I'm not sure exactly what happened, but this paint doesn't seem to match. Gas cap looks shiny and smooth, yes. Man, I just love this angle right here. Car looks so awesome. Brand new tires, so I can't complain about that. And let's look under here. And what's really good is that the gas shocks are working. So many times it appears that that's worn out, but in this case, it holds up by itself, so that's good. So when I first got back here, which I didn't even look in here until after I bought the car, I know that's foolish, I see there's a ton of dog hair everywhere. So this was the resting bed of the previous owner's dog. There's dog hair right here especially. So I believe that the dog rested here while he was being driven around by his owner in the Viper. It's kind of cool, but it's also kind of gross because I got to clean this all up, and that's very annoying. There's nothing else in here. It's a little dirty, otherwise okay. It's got the original, whoa, yeah, that's what I found. It's got the original spare and a snake that comes with the Viper. There you go. Original spare, never been used from what I can tell. It's got all the equipment. That's great. So that's good, but what a mess. Also, just the general condition of the car when I bought it. Dirty, never been cleaned out. Yeah, a little bit of lack of care. Yeah, a little bit of lack of care, but also a lot of care at one point. So someone spent a lot of money on this Belanger exhaust, which is rather expensive, and I like it a lot. And on the back of the car, you can see some strange blotches in the paint right here. Now, I don't know if this is going to show up on the camera. Right there, there and there. Sort of a lighter blotch. It's all very smooth, but it's strange. And then right here, look at that. It's a little orangey, like a splotch. What the heck is that? I don't know. That's annoying. That is annoying. Driver's side, we can see that we have a door sagging problem because the door is hitting the weather stripping right here and wearing right through. This is a common problem on Vipers, so I'm not surprised that mine has it, like they all do. Some wear on the carpet down here, but otherwise it's not too bad. The seats are not bad. The driver's seat still doesn't have too much wear. Looks in pretty good shape. This car does have about 33,000 US miles, 58,000 kilometers up here in Canada. It's a Canadian Viper, one of the few race yellow Vipers in 2001. Steering wheel knob, not too bad. The parking brake's not too bad, except it's a little bit worn out right here. But look at this. We got like a strange crease in the middle of this console. This console to buy again would be over $1,000 or more if you can find one. And it's got a little strange crease. It's not a crack, but it's a crease. That's annoying. I'm gonna live with that, of course, for now, but that's annoying. Yeah, and expensive to replace. And also big hole in the dash. That's where the Alpine radio, which came with the car, and I thought I could reconnect that. Yeah, I think the previous owner probably changed out the Alpine stereo for something else, and then when they sold the car, they took out their newer stereo and put the Alpine back in. And so I thought, well, I'm gonna make the car all original. I'm gonna put the Alpine back in. But here's my Alpine radio all apart. I've taken it apart because it started smoking when I tried to connect it up to the connectors in the car. And of course, I don't know if you can see right there, we have a melted capacitor. A melted one. So I got to replace that or get a new radio or something else, and these things can be very expensive. I don't know what I'm going to do. So for now, I've got no tunes. I got to listen to the sound of the motor, which is pretty awesome. And back to the interior. Oh, and we got this strange switch, which I at first did not know what this was for. It's sort of MacGyvered into the wiring. And this is actually a fan switch. I think Viper owners sometimes worry about the vehicle overheating. So this will just turn on the fans whenever you want if you're overheating in traffic. So it's a good thing to have, but it's kind of crudely put into the car. So I'm gonna have to redo that. Steering wheel is in great shape, very little wear. So overall, not too bad. It's got nice Viper mats from Lloyd's, but they're worn out. They're worn out, so that's too bad. But yeah, not too bad in the interior. So this car actually had at least one or two owners that really cared, but they also had owners that didn't care, and I'm going to show you right now. Let's look at the engine compartment. So the Viper is a sort of a mix of old and modern. And for example, you might think, well, there's going to be a pull down here for the hood. No, there's nothing there. Don't bother looking around there at all. You're going to have to do it old school. Sort of like that old 1973 Camaro. You just unlatch it from the front. First of all, put your hand in here as if you're going to be eaten by the Viper, and you pull down, and that releases it to the first stage, and then you go in here and push. So you pull this way, and up she comes. But it only goes up so far. Now, you got to go around to the back. Best if you have two people, but otherwise, you got to try and pull from the center and pull the hood up, which takes a bit of work. I don't know if this one's especially hard to do, but it takes a bit of work to get this sucker up. But once you get it up, once you get this sucker up, it looks incredible. This is sort of like the Viper Flex. You go to a car show, you put that hood up like this and watch the people come running. All right, so there is your incredible, and this is also really good for the shows. Look at that, this beautiful red V10 Viper engine, 8-liter engine, gigantic, beautiful. It's got a hole in the windshield washer bottle. Not happy about that. It's got missing, it's supposed to be a cap over this positive terminal. This is positive 12 volts. By the way, this is your negative. So if you have to jump start this car, you just use this negative, this positive, because the battery is hidden behind the rear wheel. It's another whole video on that. I'm gonna have to go through that because this car also has a weak battery. And you get to here and you see there's the Belanger headers. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Is it Belanger or Belanger? As you can see, the previous owner added some nice chrome bits, which I would prefer it to be more original. This can be taken off. They're just held on with like adhesive. Also, this looks really nice at first, and then you'll take a closer look. And this is actually a chrome molding that you can get at any O'Reilly's or Pep Boys. And they just stuck it on, cut it to length and stuck it on. This should be on the side of a car someplace. You see, it's just cut. So I'm going to take all this off and just reveal the natural brushed finish of the original. But this is really shiny, but yeah, I'm taking that off. Also, it's missing the original air box, and instead it has these K&N filters with separate intakes. And as you can see, rusty, and it's got holes everywhere. Air's getting in there. So I'm going to go back to the original air box. This also, I don't believe, is such a great intake. It is probably taking in warmer air than the stock intake would, so I'm going to change that. I don't like that. It's got the original power steering pulley. These are made of plastic. They crack. There's no cracks in this one, but I'm going to have to change that out as well. Notice also that there's some corrosion on these Belanger headers, which is really annoying because I think they have a ceramic coating, which if they had stayed on it, that would have been great. But this also suggests that this car has been out in the elements, which you wouldn't think a Viper would be. I mean, this Viper from now on is going to live in a nice warm garage, but at one point I don't think it did. And I can show you more evidence of that on the other side. And the fog lamps don't work, and of course the reason why is because they're cracked. Yes, they are, and someone put Scotch tape over this. That's a sign of the lack of care right there. On the other side of this beautiful Viper motor, you can see there's some corrosion down there, but yeah, if you go to the front of the motor, you can see that there's rusty bits everywhere. Look at that pulley. Can you see that pulley? That is deep, deep rust right there. How could that be so rusty? And then there's rust on the front pulley right there and on the crankshaft pulley as well. So just a sign that this car was outside, which, you know, I don't know, that's not very good. It's got a small oil leak down there. Yeah, a small oil leak down there, but it doesn't really leak much. It's quite dry underneath. From my previous inspection, my previous video, I showed an inspection of the underside of this car, and it looks quite nice underneath. And I tell you, if you look in between, look under the manifold here. Now, I'm going to find a way to show you, but it is full of junk. And I'm going to show you how bad it is, just how bad it really is. Okay, I've got my endoscope out, and this is going to show you what it's like underneath this manifold. It looks beautiful on top, but let's take a look underneath and see what's happened to this car. Ugh, gross. Those wires look like they've been chewed a little bit. Okay, so pretty gross underneath that manifold. It looks like there was a mouse living there, living in the lap of luxury in the Viper. So it sounds to me, it looks to me like the Viper was outside for a while underneath a tree. There's lots of leaves, twigs, dirt, rust on the pulleys. It's been sitting. So definitely a certain lack of care, at least at one point in its life. And also care at others, because there's some big money spent on that exhaust system, the Belanger exhaust system. And the tires are top dollar too. So there's some money spent and also neglect. But that's not the end of it. There's more neglect. Let me show you. But look at this. This is the clutch fluid reservoir. This is used as a hydraulic clutch. This is the reservoir. Take a look inside here. Just take a look how bad this is. Okay. There you go. The fluid is absolutely black. And there's chunky bits in there. Don't know if I can show you that, but there's some chunky bits. Ugh, what is that? Anyway, that is absolutely black. That's never been changed. I don't believe so. So that's a high priority. I gotta change that as soon as possible. Very dirty. I don't know. Clutch fluid never changed. Never changed. Who knows about the rest of it? Anyway, I'm gonna go through the car, and so I'm gonna call this the bad about the Viper part 1, because I think there's going to be more as I delve in further into the car. But anyway, as I promised, I'm going to tell you how much I paid for this car, and then you're going to tell me if you think that I got ripped off or not. Don't worry, I can take it. Okay, so I live up here in Canada, so I'm going to give the Canadian dollar figures, then I'll convert it to US dollars for my listeners in the States. The pricing up here in Canada might be different from down there. There's a few changes, but anyway, I'll just tell you what I paid. So my total purchase price of this Viper 2001 Race Yellow was $72,000 Canadian. Now, your American buck is a lot more powerful than our weak Canadian dollar. So that actually works out to be $53,800 US dollars. So $53,800 US dollars is how much I paid for this Viper right now. Anyway, also, of course, I used my GR86, my 2022 GR86 Neptune Blue. Loved the car, but I had to trade that in to get this car. And for the trade-in, I got $37,000 Canadian. Sounds good, but that's just $27,600 US. Now, up here in Canada, I paid $34,000 brand new for that GR86, Toyota GR86. And so to get $37,000 for it, a bit more than what I paid, I think that's a pretty good deal. It had low kilometers, really good shape, about 5,000 kilometers on it. So anyway, those are the prices I paid. So basically for the Viper, I paid $53,800 US. So let me know, do you think I got a deal or not? With all the work I have to do with the neglect, the rust, the mice, everything else that might be wrong with the car, do you think I got a good deal? Let me know. Anyway, thanks for watching Photomikes Garage. I will see you next time. And one more thing that shows a certain lack of care for this Viper. This is the high pressure tank, radiator tank. It has antifreeze in it. There's the level, where the level should be is right there. There's the cap, and look at this. It's got a crack or a break or something, and they used silicone to seal that. Silicone to seal that. That shows a lack of care. Silicone right there, big glob of it, and silicone over here, where there's either a crack or a hole. I don't know, but this shows a certain lack of